mysterious person behind the screen, and welcome back to Discovering Buffy. We may as well just stop the series here, because Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 2 blew me away in every sense. It is... I guess we'll get into it as I talk through the episodes. But it's... Oh, I just noticed the cover is the ring that Angel gave to Buffy. The feels. I've actually got post-it notes written here with the episodes, because I've got the slim case version. It doesn't actually have a list of episodes anywhere on the discs or anything. So, I'm working from post-it notes here, but because season one's video was long enough, and that was only 12 episodes. This is 22, so let's get into this real quickly. We got When She Was Bad. I think a pretty solid opener. It's mainly there to deal with the after effects that season 1 had on Buffy, and her response to that, because obviously she got killed at the end of season 1. That's gonna have an effect on you. That's bound to have some effect on you, and When She Was Bad sort of deals with the consequences of that, and it's a great episode, and there's some great memorable lines in this. We got Willow saying, "Is it me or is she being a bitch? Willow, we don't have to spell things out." And then Xander going, "A bitka." That's just one of the best lines of the show. We got the weird dance between Buffy and Xander that's in the opening titles. It's very hard, and all the way through I was thinking, what are you doing? This is weird. It doesn't feel right. This does not feel right at all. And then the following scene after that, with Cordelia coming out and saying, "You're really campaigning for Bitch of the Year, huh?" And then Buffy's response with, "As reigning champion, you scared?" And it's like, it's almost like she's got like the symbiote on from Spider-Man or something. She's being really also that dream sequence is scary, with Giles strangling her and just having no remorse in his face, and then Willow and Xander are just watching on laughing. It's like, oh my god, no. The characters, no, these are my guys. I don't want anything bad to happen to any of them. So it's a case, it's all very good. And then the final scene where Buffy just goes nuts, and it's not the final scene, is it? Where she breaks the bones of the Master, and it's like all the rage and frustration and the fear and the anger that she had that she died is just all released, and she's crying and Angel's there and stuff. It's a really nice scene, and I believe this is the one that we get Xander's line of, "If they hurt Willow, I'll kill you." And that's like, when I heard that for the first time, I went, whoa, damn, back up a bit. It shows that he really does care for Willow there. I really like that, and it's good episode. Not one of my favourites, but a good one. Next is Some Assembly Required. Filler. Pretty big filler. It's we get the only really big thing to take away from it is there's some cool practical effects. We get the first seeds of Xander and Cordy's relationship, and then we get Giles and Jenny's first date. That's really all there is to take from Some Assembly Required. The rest of it, just kind of filler. Episode 3, School Hard. It's awesome. It's so cool. We get the introduction of Spike and Drusilla. They're sort of set up as the big bads of this season, and Spike and Drusilla are just... Spike steals every scene he's in. I'm on season 4 now. I watched the first episode of that last night, and he has only appeared once since then, which is in season 3, episode 8. I think it's 8. And every time he's in there, he just steals the show. He really does. He's just, you got Slayer problems. Why is he Australian? You got Slayer problems. That's a bad piece of luck. He's James Masters as Spike. He's just, every time he's on screen, you can't take your eyes off. And at this point in the series, he's you're not meant to like him. He's bad. He's a bad guy. He starts off by crashing through the Sunnydale sign and getting out of his car. He's not a good person, but he's just such a joy to watch. The title School Hard comes from the fact that this is essentially a Die Hard episode. The last sort of 15 to 20 minutes takes place all inside the school as Spike and this gang of vampires are attacking the school, just like the terrorists were in Die Hard. And Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of a nice, ripe girl. Yeah, it's so good. And that confrontation between him and Angel as well really deepens the mythology. Yeah, School Hard's great. Great lines. Drusilla as well, man. You know, she's amazing. You don't know what she's gonna do. She's so unpredictable. She's very ill at this point, but she's so unpredictable and crazy. Like, look at all the people. Are they nice people? I believe Juliet Lando plays Romana in Big Finish, or some Big Finish anyway. She's great. I love Juliet Lando, and yeah, it's that team of Spike and Drusilla are just. I always want them to cut back to scenes of those two just so I can watch them some more because they're so good together, and you just want to watch them play off and taunt Buffy and the gang, and it's like, oh, it's fantastic. Do we really need weapons for this? I just like them. It makes me feel all manly. Yeah, it's and then at the end they kill the Anointed One, which that was a surprise. Didn't see that coming. It's yes, School Hard's a great episode. Really love it. Next one's Inca Mummy Girl. Again, it's okay. It's not too bad. There hasn't been, apart from I'd say in season 1 with I, Robot You, Jane, there hasn't been a god awful one so far in this point, though. I think my least favourite episode of the series as a whole that I've seen will come a little bit later, just before the finale. You can guess what it is, can't you? Yeah, Inca Mummy Girl. It's cool. It's a cool plot for Xander with Imparter. We get to see Oz for the first time, and you get the running joke up until I think What's My Line, where he just keeps seeing Willow, and he goes, "Who's that girl?" So that's nice. I think, yeah, I don't really remember a lot of it. It's fairly forgettable. But I will be forever grateful to Inca Mummy Girl for giving us that image of Willow in that Eskimo costume, just standing there and looking. It's great. Love it. Reptile Boy is again fun, fairly forgettable. You get a little bit of conflict between Buffy and Giles, and it's sets up that father-daughter relationship that they have. She feels like she needs to be more independent. And you get Willow's outburst at the end as well, to Angel and Giles. I can't quite remember what she says now. It's been a while since I watched this season. Like I said, I have finished season 3 by now, so this is going back a bit for me. But her outburst is great. You're right, the monster at the end looks very phallic, and it's just an overblown metaphor, and that's fine. But yeah, it's okay. We get Angel getting so mad that he just involuntarily turns into his demon form to protect Buffy, which is kind of cool. Yeah, it's not too bad. It's just a sort of comment on college parties, really. It doesn't really do much for me, but I can see why it has its fans. Now, the next 2 episodes are some of my favourites. We've got Halloween, which is just amazing. We got the whole plot of it is the gang. It's Halloween night. The gang goes trick-or-treating, and then Giles' old pal Ethan Rayne casts a spell that turns everyone into their literal versions of their Halloween costumes. So Buffy turns into an 18th century princess. Willow they dress her up all like sexy, but she doesn't want to wear that, so she puts a sheet over her. So as a result, she turns into a ghost and can walk through walls. Xander turns into a military man. It's just it's so much fun to watch. Cordy isn't affected, which is interesting, and that's quite fun when she's just like, what's happening here? What else? There's that bit where Willow walks through the wall into the library and it scares Giles, and he's just counting the cards, and he just goes like that, and the cards go everywhere. It's so good. I love Monster of the Week episodes like this, where it's seeing the characters put in a new situation. And seeing Xander, having military training, it's just I'm smiling so much because it's so much fun to watch. You got I've seen I think the Passion of the Nerd said on his guide that Spike's presence in the episode felt fairly superfluous. The fact that he didn't really need to be there, it was just there to remind the audience that there's a big bad and Spike's here. But I quite enjoyed him in it. When he sees the chaos going around, he's just there like, well, this is just neat. That's all good. when the spell's broken and Buffy turns from being the princess to being the Slayer again, and she says, "You know what? It's good to be me," and just starts. It's awesome. It's so cool. Oh, I love Halloween. I love Halloween so much. It's a great episode. I've returned to it often as well because it's been on the Sci-Fi Channel. All right, it's in the awful remaster, but you know, I love it. I love it so much. Halloween's a great episode. There's one detail that I'm gonna kick myself that I missed, but I can't remember what it is. No, it's gone. Okay, well that's fine. I'll probably think of it towards the end of the video and just be like, this. But oh well. Lie to Me. Oh, Lie to Me. Just one of the best episodes yet. Plot is Buffy's old friend Ford from her old school comes and visits Sunnydale. Weasels his way into the group, and through many events we find out that he's actually part of a secret cult of vampires. Well, secret cult of vampire supporters who want to become vampires themselves. And you know, for most of the episode we go along, when we finally figure out that revelation, we sort of go along and think, oh, he's just, the whole episode's just going to be he's just an idiot and he just doesn't realise what, you know, how bad being a vampire actually is. I think it's described by Buffy as it's not you anymore, it's your body, you die and a demon sets up shop or something. It's very interesting. But the crux of the episode, when we find out why Ford's doing this, and we get that lovely scene between him and Buffy, and it's because he's got cancer and a kid just fell off his scooter outside. Is he alright? Okay, I think he's moving. That's fine. He just fell off of his scooter. I should cut that out, but that was hilarious. That was so funny. Yeah, no, where was I? Yeah, we find out he's got cancer. He's got a tumour on the brain. And every day he's closer to his death. And he doesn't want to die in a state where he doesn't recognise himself anymore. So he'd prefer to be a vampire. And the fact that it questions the morality so much, and it means that for Buffy, her life now, her morality isn't so black and white. You know, we had that scene where Ford says, you know, what's the matter, Summers? This didn't fit within your black and white mentality, good versus evil. And no, Buffy has to sort of make this choice between letting her friend die in an immensely painful way, or letting him die, become a vampire, and then dusting him. What she says, you know, you have a choice. You don't have a good choice, but you have a choice. And it's the music during that as well. Da, da, da. It's really lovely. The episode's so emotional. And when she walks out and sees that most of them have been killed, Ford himself, by the vampires, it's a very melancholy moment. Though there is one detail in that scene when Spike's trying to get out, because Buffy locks them all in there, and Spike's trying to get out, and he just goes, where's the doorknob? And the way he just says it is just like, it cracks me up. I had to rewind it and just watch it again because the way he says it, where's the doorknob? It's just fun. And there's there's a terrifying shot where Spike and Drusilla are, you know, they're about to kill Ford and the rest of the vampire supporters. And they just look, and the shots like that from his point of view, and they just look, and they look like they're about to pounce, and it's so scary. And it's like the ending, the perfect ending, when her and Giles are standing over Ford's grave, and Buffy's just like, it used to be so simple. I used to know who to love, who to hate, who to trust, but you know, now it's not so black and white. The line has been blurred, and you know that. Season 2 is an example of the writers stepping up from that Monster of the Week formula that we had in Season 1. It's stepping up from that and getting more deeper and darker, and this episode shows it. It's a incredibly fascinating episode, and when, at the end, when she says to Giles, does life ever get easy? And he says, what do you want me to say? And she goes, lie to me. You know, and the credits role, and he says, "Yes, it's terribly simple. The good guys are always stalwart and true, and the bad guys, well, they can be defined by their black horns and pointy hats. No one ever dies. Good always wins over evil." And then you just hear Buffy say, "Liar," and then it's the end of the episode. It's so sort of there's a lot to chew on. There's a lot of food for thought there, and I just love it. Fantastic episode. The Dark Age. Yeah. It's nice to learn a bit more about Giles. But we see a bit more of the Ripper, because the Ripper came out sort of in Halloween. Hello, Ripper. You know, it's all good. Yeah, the Dark Age ain't nothing special, but it's a pretty good one. But the next two episodes, What's My Line Part 1 and What's My Line Part 2, I shouldn't laugh. We get introduced to Kendra, the Vampire Slayer. I can't. Oh, Kendra. What even? There's not a lot, because the episode's great. We get that bug guy with Xander and Cordy, with all the bugs. I can't really remember much of it because so much of my memory is just clouded with Kendra's lines and that awful accent that goes from American to its intended Jamaican to Irish to Welsh. It just flip. That was my favourite shirt. That was my only shirt. It's just so stereotypical and weird. But we get Drusilla's return to health at the end of part 2, and Spike's put in a wheelchair, which is an interesting development. Yeah, the idea of introducing another Slayer after Buffy died in season 1 is interesting, but it's clear that they wanted to do so much with Kendra, didn't quite work, and they replaced it with Faith pretty promptly in season 3. But What's My Line it's a good couple of episodes, and it's a big turning point for the show. There's a lot introduced, and I enjoy Kendra. It's whatever. But yeah, good episodes. Next one is Ted. A lot of people don't like this episode I've seen. I really loved it because it's like Ted is he weasels his way into the Scooby Gang, and they're all so trusting, like they love him and stuff. Xander and Willow, they adore him, because he's Joyce's new boyfriend. Buffy doesn't trust him, and when she starts questioning, he starts threatening her and beating her and being so abusive to her. And it's like all the way through, when he punched her for the first time, I was just sat there like, you bastard, get your hands off her. Because I'm so invested in these characters now. It's like seeing a friend get hurt. You don't want that to happen. So I was just like shouting at the TV saying no. And then Buffy, he kicks him down the stairs and they think he's dead. Obviously he's a robot, which I have mixed feelings about introducing just a robot into the Buffyverse just out of nowhere, but that's a minor nitpick. And she goes to jail because it's like she's just killed a man that she sat on the porch, and she admits to the police. She just goes, I killed him. And it's such a punch, because you're like, that. Wow, she's actually, this is an example of when she uses her powers she abuses her powers. Obviously it was, Ted deserved it because he was a robot, but it's cool. And then we have Bad Eggs, another interesting episode. It's the one where Buffy and Willow get assigned eggs to take care of, to help them be a parent, and then the eggs hatch and they're parasites, and they hatch onto a lot of Buffy's friends, and then they are mind controlled into being these slaves. It's a weird episode, but it's a cool one. Willow's the first to get controlled, and it's kind of scary because you don't know who has had that parasite. Like, example, Joyce just runs to Giles thinking he'll help, and then suddenly Giles just punches her in the face and puts a parasite on her. It's like, oh my god, they got Giles. I think because Xander doesn't get taken over. I think it's Willow and Cordelia knock out Xander and Buffy, and then Buffy stops them towards the end. But it's cool. There's some shoddy effects work, but overall it's a good episode. Now we get on to Surprise, and Surprise is the last episode before Buffy becomes a different show. It's Buffy's 17th birthday, and the Scoobies are planning a party. Through various hijinks isn't the right word, through various misadventures, stuff gets in the way. And there's a big vampire plot with Spike and Drusilla. I think this is the one where I always point to that scene with Drusilla just being like terrifying, because she gets that librarian, because he's messed up, and she gets him and she puts her fingers like that, and her way her eyes are just, she's crazy. She's just got him like that, and she's you don't know what she's gonna do, and eventually all she does is that, and it's like, oh, it's so scary because you don't know what is going on behind those eyes. You don't know what she's doing, and is she gonna kill him? Is she gonna let him go? She lets him go in the end, but it's quite, just her face and her smile and the way her fingers are like that, like claws. It's just like, oh, it's terrifying. Anyway, it ends with Buffy and Angel having sex, and a moment of true happiness for Angel, which unfortunately means it takes away his soul. It lifts the curse that is keeping his soul there, meaning we get Angelus, and that's the cliffhanger. It ends with Angel running out into the rain and screaming, "Buffy!" to be continued. And it's just such a, it's really well paced setup that while you're watching it, if you don't know it's an event episode, which I didn't, you just think this is kind of a slow episode, and then it gets to that cliffhanger and the following episode, and you just think, oh no, that was perfect. That was absolutely perfect, because this is, you know, the overall theme of season 2 is relationships, and we have that presented through Angel and Buffy and Spike and Drusilla, and this is like, it addresses like teenage sex, and it's very, I suppose you could say it's full on with its metaphor, but it's the fact that we've built up this relationship between Buffy and Angel, and think she says like, Angel, I look into my future and all I see is you. And they're infatuated with each other, and then finally it's taken to this step, and Angel isn't Angel. Angel's evil. And we have Innocence, and it's just that she goes to see him the next morning, and that scene where he rejects her is heartbreaking. Da, 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 da. And hearing that, just, it really sort of affects you, and it really impacts you, you know. And just seeing Angel go bad and going to Spike and Drusilla and saying, hey, I want a piece. Spike isn't very happy about that, because he's sort of moving in on his own turf, and it's like, there's some conflict from the inside there. And yeah, Innocence is frequently voted as the best episode of the show, or one of, if not the best. It's Joss Whedon's favourite. It's hard to argue here. It's not my favourite personally, but it's great. It's really good. It's really, really good. Buffy with a rocket launcher, and we get it's so epic, because it's like, no, she's not messing around. Xander remembers his military training from Halloween. He goes to get a rocket launcher for Buffy, and she's not messing around. She's driven by pure emotion now for Angel, and it's so heartbreaking to watch these two go at it. But it's like, when she goes up in the mall and the judge is there, and you got Angel and Drusilla either side, and she pulls out a rocket launcher, shoots, and the judge goes, "What's that do?" And it all explodes, and Angel and Drusilla jump off the ledge, and it's all in slow motion. It's like, this is the most epic piece of television ever. It's so cool. And then the fight with Buffy and Angel in the showers at the end, when it's like, he's taunting her so much, and it's like, yeah, no, this is clear. He's not Angel anymore. He is now Angelus, and this is going to be semi-permanent. And it's like, oh my god, this is happening. And she just kicks him in the balls. And it's like, yes, take that, you demon bastards. You have caused this girl misery. And it's like, yeah, it's so cool to see the gang rallying around Buffy. And Giles, oh man, that scene in the car at the end, where he's just like, I'm not going to lie to you, it's going to be hard, but just know you have my support. And it's like, yes, she does have your support, Giles. It's just, it's great. It's so good. And it just ends with the black and white film. It's so impactful. You come away from it going, jeez, that's a turning point for the show. And it is. It really is. This is... Innocence is the mark where Buffy stops being a fun teen Monster of the Week show, even though it still has those elements, and becomes one of the best TV dramas I have ever seen in my life. It is Innocence is just fantastic, which is why the next episode, Phases, is kind of lackluster, and it's not too bad. It's an Oz focus episode, and we realise that Oz is the werewolf, or not the werewolf, a werewolf. Sorry, and seeing that, and seeing seeing Willow and Oz get together finally is really quite satisfying, because you want Willow to be happy, because she's constantly. That's what I forgot to mention. I think it's in Innocence. Is it in Innocence, or is it What's My Line? I think it's Innocence, where, Willow sees Xander and Cordy kissing, and it's like, there's that lovely shot where they're kissing and they separate, and in the middle of them's Willow going, and it's like, Willow starts crying, and I almost want to hug Willow, because it's like, oh, I'm so sorry for you. I'm so sorry for you. And it's like, yeah, she's, it's very sad for that. And, seeing her and Oz get together in Phases is quite satisfying, because she's happy for once, and they kiss at the end, and it's all nice. But yeah, it's an Oz focused episode. We get that hunter guy who's quite annoying, but Giles, when he goes off, and he's being quite sexist to Buffy, and Giles just goes behind his back, Pillock. It's like, it's so British, and I love it. It's okay episode. Next one is Bewitched, Bothered and Bewildered, a great Xander focused episode. Xander's been a fairly problematic character. He's fairly womanizing. He will get redeemed in season 3, I think, but in this episode, it's the obligatory love potion storyline, right? It's the obligatory love potion storyline, and it's funny to see every female in Sunnydale become suddenly infatuated with Xander, and he goes home and sees Willow in his bed. Just like, it's so weird to see, because Willow hasn't turned into that outgoing girl yet. She's still the shy, nerdy girl. She hasn't tapped into magic properly yet, so it's like, it's so weird to see her acting like that. Though Alison Hannigan's really good in that, when she's got the axe at the end, and she's just like, I love you so much, and she's going nuts with it. It's insane. It even affects Drusilla, surprisingly, and Xander's just outside Buffy's house next to a tree, and Drusilla's got him pinned up, and you can tell he is terrified. He is absolutely shitting himself, because he's just there like, oh my god, it's a vampire, and she's got the hots for me. It's so weird. It's insane, and it's so funny. And to see Joyce come under that effect as well, and have that balance with Cordelia having a relationship with Xander, it's layer upon layer. And Amy gets turned into no, Amy doesn't do it. Amy turns Buffy into a rat just before Buffy can effectively rape Xander, because she's under the spell. And then it ends with like the naked Buffy. Just it's so weird, but it's such a good episode. I enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun to watch, and it's sort of a calm before the storm of passion. It's a masterpiece. Passion is a masterpiece. It absolutely destroyed me. It's the one where you go, okay, this Angelus thing, no, this can't be reversed. This is permanent, and this is going to stay. And this isn't just going to be a semi-story arc. Angel is gone. I think Buffy says at the end of this episode, Angel's gone, and nothing's going to bring him back. Spoilers, though you've heard a lot of spoilers by now. Jenny Calendar dies. And Jenny Calendar is a character that she's been there. Throughout season 1 and season 2, she's been there. And she's not been the best character, but she's been a character that we can always rely on to be there. And then suddenly, it's not a finale, it's not an episode that's a mid-season finale. She dies. She gets killed in a brutal way, and it's shocking, and it's terrifying, and it's scary, and it's bloody fantastic. Angelus kills Willow's fish and like skewers them like that, and I can't remember what it is, but there's this lovely little moment where Cordelia says something. You just hear Willow in the back go, and it's just like, oh my god. He keeps leaving notes and watching Buffy while he's when Buffy's asleep, he just goes up to her like that. And it's so creepy and weird. And, you know, he's got the letter and he writes a letter for Buffy. And it's like, as soon as she sees that and opens it, she's freaking out. And, you know, it's akin to having a stalker. The pre-title sequence is literally him following her wherever she goes. It's so creepy. And then, you know, Jenny's finding a way to get his soul back. And then he's there in the classroom. And from that moment, you know, she's got the floppy disk. From that moment, when he appears in the classroom, I knew someone wasn't going to make it out of this episode alive. And it probably was going to be Jenny. And there's an unintentionally funny bit where, you know, she tries to... They have this massive, terrifying chase through the school. And it's really scary because you don't know where he's going to be. But there's a bit where they're chasing each other. She grabs a cleaning, like, trolley, turns it around, and Angel's just there. I don't know whether it's a mistake or not, but Angel just runs into it, smacks his stomach on it, goes completely over and flips over, and the shot just lingers on it for a little too long, and it becomes a little bit... It's like that bit in Revenge of the Sith where Yoda forces Palpatine, he sends him flying, and Palpatine goes into the chair, and the shot lingers a little long, and we see Palpatine's legs go up and the chair collapse, and he's just like, and we hear the chair like that. It's sort of like that bit in Revenge of the Sith. It lingers on it a bit too long, I think, but that is all rewritten when Jenny goes into the clock tower and Angelus is there and he snaps her neck, and it's so quick. It's a moment that you're just sat there and it's a jaw on the floor moment. It really broke me. It's so sad. I can't even talk about when... Oh man, that scene with Giles. When he thinks he's having a date with her, and he goes to her house and there's music playing, and he's got the wine and the flowers. And he goes up the stairs, and there is her body, and immediately sees it. He knows something wrong. He drops it immediately, and his face drops, and he is destroyed. Because Angel's left her as a present, left her body as a present for Giles, and it's like, oh my god, this is distressing, and it's so sad. And when Giles is there with the police, and you're just like, oh my god, where are they going to go? There's still like 20 minutes of the episode left. What are they going to do? And then the bit that really sort of got to me was when they ring Buffy's house, and Willow's there, and Buffy are there, and Buffy she hears it, and her face just drops, and she just drops the phone. She just collapses against the wall, and she's just on the floor. And it's a moment for her of like, oh my god, this is real. And it's bloody brilliant. And Willow crying and breaking down and going, no, it can't be. And it's so impactful. And that bit where Giles goes for revenge, he's not thinking straight. He goes out for revenge to find Angel and Spike and Drusilla at their hideout, and Buffy saves him just in time because he would have died, and they burn down the hideout and it's on fire. And then when they escape, Giles pushes Buffy and he's like, this wasn't your fight, I could have handled it. Buffy punches him in the face, but immediately collapses down to her knees, and they start crying together, and they're hugging each other on the floor. And Giles just breaks down. It's the first time we've really seen that from him. And she says, don't do that again because I can't do this without you. And it's like, it's bloody fantastic. It's just heartbreaking. And when they're standing over her grave, you know, as Buffy said, Angel is gone and there's no way of bringing him back. And we see the floppy disk go onto the floor there, waiting to be discovered. And it's like, it is really impactful. It's very, very shocking. And then we have Killed by Death, which I really enjoyed. I think it was really scary with the Kinderstut in the hospital. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's a season 1 leftover, and I think you can tell, but I really enjoyed it. Seeing the characters in the hospital supporting Buffy and it when she's in the wheelchair. To Kinderstut is really creepy. The ending's really funny with the drawing. And Xander milking Joyce for all she's worth for the food he can get when he's keeping Buffy company. And, there's that bit where Angelus comes looking for her when she's in the hospital and it's like, oh, damn. And I really respected Xander for this. Because he is so brave, because he stands up to him and he's like, no, you're not seeing her. You're not seeing her. And Angel's like, really, Angelus is really in his face. He's like, Buffy's White Knight. And it's like, Xander could die at any moment. He knows it. You can see the terror in his eyes, but he doesn't back down. And it's like, he's very brave there. And it's a very good character moment. Overall, Kill by Death is a good episode. Next is I Only Have Eyes for You. Oh man, it's good. It's so good. It just keeps getting better and better with every episode. It's so good. I Only Have Eyes for You is fantastic. It follows ghosts, pretty much. Ghosts possessing Sunnydale students and reenacting the death of a teacher years ago, a teacher who was having a relationship with one of her students. And a few kids die, and, you know, it's a fairly cool, ghostly episode, but then it becomes something so much more when Buffy gets possessed and Angel gets possessed, except the gender roles are flipped. So Buffy is the guy and Angel is the girl. And it's this interesting perspective of their relationship, and for a moment, for a tiny little moment there, because obviously Angel can't die, by conventional means at least. If he gets shot, it's no biggie. If he jumps off the thing, the thing, it's no biggie like it had been for the human people who got possessed and killed. So the story can carry on, and the spirits can reconcile, and they kiss. And for a moment there, it's like Buffy and Angel kissing before he turned to Angelus. And it's like, oh man, it for a moment, even though Buffy's not really feeling it because it's not her, it's someone else in her body, for a moment it's like she has that old life back. And it's really well done, and Angel's ashamed of it, like he's Angelus at the end is washing himself off and Spike's sort of taunting him, and then we see Spike really has been playing this for the fool, because Spike gets up out of his chair and it sets things perfectly for the finale, and it's a lovely episode. Lovely, lovely, lovely stuff. And then we get my least favourite episode of the season, which is Go Fish. A weird, odd episode that really feels like a season 1 episode, that doesn't fit within the tone of season 2, that doesn't, you know, it doesn't feel like it fits the flow, because we have I Only Have Eyes for You, which set things up for the finale with Spike coming out of his chair and, you know, Buffy and Angel's kiss and stuff. And then we, you know, all the way up to Becoming, right? We go from that to Becoming, right? Except we don't, because we just go immediately to Go Fish. I don't understand. You know, this will be fixed with just a simple order. It really breaks the flow of the season to the point where if I ever go through this again, I'm going to skip it or watch it before I Only Have Eyes for You. Because it is awful. It is utterly shite. And I don't like saying this about Buffy, because I adore and love the show with all my heart. But this episode was awful. I'm sorry, it's so bad. It's so awful. That's all it really is to say, really. Next time I watch it, I'm going to watch it after Killed by Death. Then I Only Have Eyes for You. I don't care if it's breaking the continuity. The series will flow better. Sue me. No. Then we have Becoming. Parts 1 and 2. Again, 2 of the best episodes of the show that I've seen so far. And I'm on season 4, remember. It's 2 of the best. And yeah. There's so much to unpack here. What do we have? Becoming Part 1. Really, it's a lovely build-up. I've rarely been on the edge of my seat with TV as much as I have that moment where it's slow motion and the vampires are there and they attack the gang in the library, and Drusilla's there, and we see Drusilla in the school, and it's quite a big moment to see her coming out. And they're there, and Kendra is killed. And I've never been on the edge of on the edge of my seat as much as I have when Buffy's running and it's slow motion and she's running to get to there and she just makes it. Because Drusilla hypnotizes Kendra, puts her in a trance, and then when she's in a trance, and Kendra's dead, and Drusilla has no remorse, and it's fantastic. And throughout part 1, we see Angel, I keep saying Angel, I really should say Angelus. We see him setting the stages, sowing the seeds for his ultimate plot. Throughout that, we also see his backstory. We see Drusilla. We see Drusilla turning into a vampire, I think, or do we see her turning him into a vampire? Either way, we see them before the events of season 2, or season 1 for that matter, years ago. I believe Becoming is also the moment where we see, but we get a flashback to when Angel is on his own, and he sees Buffy from an early age. He sees Buffy on the moment she gets approached by the Watchers Council and says, "You're going to be a Slayer." And she's superficial, and she's mean, and she's Cordelia. You see in the mirrors here, Cordelia is Buffy had she not gotten her Slayer powers, had she not committed to that. It's quite effective. And then we get part 2, which is filled with so many character moments. Willow's in the hospital after the events of part 1 with the attack. And we get, even though she's dating Oz, Xander's by her bedside, and, you know, they're best friends. And he says, "I love you." And you really feel it, and it's up for debate whether she can hear or not, because she wakes up pretty soon after that when Oz comes in. That's an interesting moment for sure. That final confrontation, seeing Angelus nearly win, and knowing how much knowing how Buffy will be affected by that, and not caring anyway, and seeing her nearly win, seeing him nearly win, and then suddenly she grabs the sword as he's about to stab her, and so begins the ultimate battle, and it's fantastic. And Giles gets kidnapped and tortured, and that's really scary. Spike, this is the moment where he becomes a semi-good guy, because he's there with Joyce, and Joyce finds out she's a Slayer. There's so much to unpack. Joyce finds out that Buffy's a Slayer, and man, it's treated as a metaphor for a child coming out as gay, because she says, "Have you ever tried not being a Slayer?" And it's like, yeah, wow, okay. And Buffy says, "No, this is what I have to do." Joyce doesn't want to go out there, but Buffy goes, "No, I have to do this because the world will end if I don't." And she leaves, and Joyce says, "If you walk out the door, don't even think about coming back." And Buffy leaves. And then Buffy leaves Sunnydale at the end of the episode. And then with Spike with Joyce, never have I got so much pleasure out of seeing two characters put in a room together. When they just awkwardly sat in the living room, Spike before had said to Buffy, "Right, I'll help you. Because I don't like..." He doesn't say this, I'm paraphrasing, but he just says, "Angel's moving in on my girl. I'll help you." And he's just sat in there with Joyce, now that she knows all these secrets of vampires and slayers and stuff. And he's just sat there. And she goes, "Have we met?" And he goes, "Yeah, he held an axe to me. I believe it was, get the hell away from my daughter." And it's just, it's so nonchalant, and, you know, it's great. I love it. We'll get more of Joyce and Spike in season 3. And I love that. I always want to talk about Lover's Walk now. You're a very bad man. That's season 3. I'm getting ahead of myself. But yeah, Willow tapping into her magical abilities, almost like she's a dark version of herself. It's really odd, and it's like she's sort of succumbing to that. It's interesting. I'm interested to see where they go with that, because she taps into that more in season 3. And I almost never like it when she does, because it's like, you're tapping into some dangerous stuff here. But no, she's going full on magic, full on Wicca. And then, that final scene where Angel gets his soul back, and we hear that love theme coming in. and we think it's all okay, and it's not. And the moment where Buffy says to Angel, "Close your eyes," and I just thought, this is it. She's gonna kill him, and she does. She stabs him through the heart, and his final words. Obviously, this isn't the end for him, but his final words, "Buffy," and then he gets sucked into the portal, and then "Full of Grace" song. That the song starts playing, and a montage of Buffy leaving Sunnydale, leaving her friends behind, and Willow goes, "Wouldn't it be great if Buffy could just show up, even though she's been suspended and questioned by the police because the police think she's murdered Kendra, and she's still wanted at the start of season 3." It's like, oh wow, okay, this is got repercussions, and it's so sad when she gives that note to Joyce and she says, "I'm leaving," and Joyce just breaks down, and it's like, it's so sad, it really is. And it concludes what I think is one of the best seasons of television I have ever seen with Buffy the Vampire Slayer season 2. Maybe it isn't as consistent as season 3, but it's my favourite of the ones I've seen so far, and it's fantastic. Highlights for me include School Hard, Halloween, Lie to Me, Ted, Surprise, Innocence, Passion, I Only Have Eyes for You, and Becoming. The rest range from awful with Go Fish to very good with Bewitched, Bothered and Bewildered. So yeah, there you go. If you haven't seen season 2 of Buffy, this keeps falling out on me. If you haven't seen season 2 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, go check it out. I've just spoiled it for you, so what you doing, you mentalist? Yeah, it's fantastic. Join me next time, because we will be going through season 3 and dissecting that bad boy. I have a lot to say about season 3. Not as good as season 2, but another fantastic season, I must say. This show just keeps knocking it out of the park, so look forward to that. This has been season 2. I have discovered it. And that's not my line. That's not my catchphrase for this series, no. If you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you in my next one. Take care now.